I'll give people a minute or two more to sign on. This is Sue Gander at the National Governors Association. Welcome to actually it's really our second webinar of the Outdoor Recreation and Learning Network. The first one was more of an orientation and hearing from some of the existing directors. This is our first with external speakers. I'll get to them in just a minute, but excited to be giving everyone a chance to hear a little bit more about the work that's been done at the Department of Commerce and Headwater Economics on the outdoor recreation economy and the industry and the impact economically, which I know is one of our top issues out there, among others. So I'm going to do just so everybody knows who's on the call. I'll yell out the states that I know are on the call. If you could just say a quick hello with your name, and then if I don't call you out, please jump in if we missed you. So I've got New Hampshire.
Hi, this is Alex Race.
Thanks. Utah.
Tom Adams.
Colorado.
Nathan Fay.
Montana.
Rachel Vandevort.
Michigan.
Brad Garman.
Alabama.
Chris Blankenship and Ed Poulos.
Oh, great. See both. Alaska.
This is Ricky.
Ricky. North Carolina.
Reed Wilson.
I think Amy said she couldn't make it. Hawaii. Hawaii was on one? That was Hawaii. Any other states?
Maine.
Maine.
Yeah.
Carolyn. All right.
Carolyn. Yeah. Marcy from Maryland.
Oh, great.
John
Joining
Schneider
us.
from Washington.
Okay.
Hi, this is Peter Spadero from Pennsylvania.
Oh, hi, Peter. Thanks for joining the group. I know a few folks forwarded along information to folks that maybe haven't been with us before, so welcome if that's the case. Any other states? All right, and then I know we've got some of our partners on from OIA.
Hey, it's David Weinstein.
And Andrew Pappas is here as well.
So is Stuart Lewis.
Anyone else? Sponsors, others?
This is Kalen from Oregon.
Oh, great. Hey, Kayla. All right. Well, great. So this is partially for the benefit of folks making the presentations. We've obviously got a great diverse group of states here who are part of the NG Outdoor Recreation Learning Network, really engaged in these topics. May have heard some of this information before, so you could get questions that are really down in the weeds, but I think we're going to start off with some basic information and then go from there. We'll start off with Dirk Van Dyme, who's a research economist with DEA, and share a sort of a condensed version of a presentation they've been providing around the new data that came out with the state-specific information. I know a lot of folks are very excited about, and then we will go on to Dr. Ray Rasker, who's Executive Director of Headwater Economics, based out in Montana, to share some of how, I was waiting for a woohoo on that. He's going to share a little bit on how they've used the data and develop some tools that should be helpful for states that want to make use of this information and use it in their work, and some case studies around how they think it could be helpful. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dirk. We've got his slides here that he's going to walk through, and I'll be a little bit of a nuisance timekeeper just to keep things moving along, make sure we can get through both the presentations. So thank you very much. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Sue, and thanks to everyone at NGA for inviting us to give this presentation. I will be talking about our new outdoor recreation satellite account. And I should be able to control the screen now, right? Are we in the PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah, you should be able to just click on it and go to the next slide.
I'm not, let's see.
It says Dirk is controlling your screen.
Yeah.
But that may not be.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
No, that's okay. We can take it back.
It looks like it's just stuck on the first slide. I'm looking at a picture of myself and Ray.
Oh,
Huh.
Sorry.
Maybe that's on our end.
Back.
Are we in PowerPoint? It doesn't look like it. There we go.
Okay.
You should have control now.
Okay, great. Sorry for that. It looks like it's working.
No, thank you.
So, yeah, so this is a new project at BEA. We came out with official outdoor recreation satellite account numbers last year at the national level, and this is the first year we've come out with a prototype statistics available at the regional level. So quickly today, before I hand things over to Ray, who will interpret our numbers a little bit more, I'll give you a brief overview of the national outdoor recreation satellite account results, and then some background on how we developed the regional numbers, which in this case are state level numbers, since I'm sure that's what you guys at NGA are most interested in. And we'll have some time for questions at the end. So the headline number for outdoor recreation is that it accounts for 2.2% of the entire economy. So that's been the case since we, for the earliest years that we have data up until 2017, which is the latest year, it's been stable at 2.2%. And for what that really means, it adds up to $427 billion in terms of nominal value added, which you can think about as similar to GDP. Nominal gross output, which is akin to total sales, is $778.5 billion. Compensation, $213.4 billion, the national level. And the outdoor recreation sector as a whole accounts for 5.2 million jobs. To put that into a little bit more context, what does that 2.2% really mean? Here we are comparing to several other industries, and we're measuring all these in a very consistent way. That's the beauty of our approach here at the BEA, Bureau of Economic Analysis, is that we can compare the outdoor recreation economy with other sectors. And so as you can see, it's bigger than mining, bigger than utilities, bigger than chemical products manufacturing, that includes like pharmaceuticals, and about the same size as broadcasting and telecommunications. So as you guys all already know, this is a big deal. A little bit more at the national level, I'll quickly go through this slide, but basically it's just showing you that in all these statistics that we measure here at BEA, the outdoor recreation economy is growing faster than the US economy as a whole. So what are we really here for is to talk about the regional statistics. Now, I want to be clear that these are prototype statistics. We published in late September of this year, and the plan is for these statistics to become official next year. And in the meantime, we want to be, we are gathering feedback and want to hear as much as possible from stakeholders and from people who know this industry well about ways we can improve our measurements. So what I'm going to show you is our statistics that we've published and some things that you can do with them. So the statistics that we have available are nominal value added by activity, by outdoor recreation activity, and also by industry, and then compensation and employment by industry. And these statistics are all available for each and every state, and also the District of Columbia. So how are we really putting this together? Well, with the help of industry experts over the course of the past few years, we've decided to publish the outdoor recreation statistics with this breakdown of activities. So you see on the left-hand side, the conventional core outdoor recreation. That's what most people are thinking of when they think of outdoor recreation. It's the traditional activities like biking and boating and fishing, equestrian, RVing, snow activities, all there on the left. Then we have in the middle the other core outdoor recreation activities. These are things that generally happen outside, but maybe don't quite fit into the traditional definition. And then importantly, on the right-hand side, you see the supporting outdoor recreation activities. And this is all the economic activity that is associated with outdoor recreation, in the sense of, when you're going on a ski trip, you're having to pay for plane tickets and the government expenditures that are associated with maintaining outdoor recreation facilities like national parks. And so really what our new satellite account allows you to do is to really filter the data towards whatever you're interested in, whether it's the conventional activities or even a specific conventional activity or just the total view. So that 2.2% at the national level is everything here put together. So to look at some of the top activities in terms of the conventional, traditional ones, at the national level, you see that boating and fishing is over $20 billion in 2017 in terms of nominal value added. RVing is second, and a few of the other top activities are shown here. So importantly, though, we want to talk about how we're actually putting these numbers together. And the key for understanding the state level numbers is how we figure out the geography. And what you want to take away is that outdoor recreation is based on the place of production. That's how we're measuring outdoor recreation economic activity. So not necessarily where people who are participating in outdoor recreation live, but where that economic activity is contributing to local economies. So, for example, if we think about the manufacturing of ski equipment, that might happen in a totally different place than where the skis are eventually used. And how we measure things at BEA is we're assigning the production to where it occurs. If the skis are produced in Tennessee, then the manufacturing activity counts in Tennessee. Then the ski lift tickets might be purchased in Utah, and we'll count that in Utah. So it's really, we're doing a good job of measuring the activity where it happens. For services, it's usually the same place where the ski lessons are where that's happening. And then importantly, imports are not included here. So when a bike is produced in another country, the manufacturing value doesn't help out the U.S. economy. It's potentially the retail will be counted if the bike is purchased in the U.S. The retailer's profits will be counted in California or Texas or wherever it ends up being sold, but the manufacturing that happens in another country is not included. So let's dive into the results. This map is showing you how much each state contributes to the national total in terms of value added in 2017. So notice that the darker blue states are the higher numbers, and really what this map is showing you essentially is where people live. California contributes most to the national totals, but we like to pair this map where you see really where the outdoor recreation activity or economic activity is happening with the map on the next page, which shows you how important outdoor recreation is to each state's economy. So notice here, the range goes from a low of 1.2% in the District of Columbia to a high of 5.4% in Hawaii. And so what does this mean? This means that Hawaii's state economy, 5.4% of that is associated with outdoor recreation. And so you see again, the darker blue states have a higher percentage of their state GDP associated with outdoor recreation. You see the concentration of the Mountain West states and New England, Florida, and Alaska also coming in on the higher side. We can also show a similar map. Remember, this is for value added. Think about that like the entire economy. It's like GDP. We can do a similar thing for employment. So here again, the darker colored states have a higher share of their jobs in the outdoor recreation sector. Here, the top state is Wyoming at 8%. So that's almost 1 out of every 12 jobs in Wyoming is in the outdoor recreation sector. Diving into the numbers a little bit more, we can look at that distinction that I was talking about earlier between the conventional outdoor recreation activities, the other activities, and the supporting activities. So at the national level, supporting activities account for about 50% of the outdoor recreation economy. In this selection of states that we've chosen to illustrate here, that supporting share is much higher. Now, what's really cool about the outdoor recreation satellite account is you can go even deeper than this and say, all right, that 70% accounts for a lot in these 3 states, but why is that specifically happening? And this is the published level of detail for outdoor recreation activities. And you really see how these 3 different states really have different supporting activities accounting for that higher share. In Hawaii, you see transportation and lodging. Obviously, it's expensive when you go on your outdoor recreation vacation to Hawaii to pay for the flights, for example. In DC, we see food and beverages coming in higher, also government expenditures, obviously, in the capital. And then in Wyoming, notice lodging and also government expenditures from national parks. So in the interest of time, I'll go a little quicker here through some of the specific activities to show you which states are contributing most to the national total in specific activities. Here is boating and fishing. Notice Florida first, California, Texas, New York, and Michigan rounding out the top 5. And remember what's included here, the boating and fishing activity comprises all the constituent parts of that activity. It's the manufacture of boats, the wholesale and the retail, the gasoline purchases, the purchases of sails, the purchases of sailing lessons. It's all the different parts of the boating and fishing activity. And then where, we're adding up each part and determining where that happens. So the boat is manufactured in Florida, that manufacturing value is counted there, and then maybe it's the eventual owner takes it up to New York and pays maintenance costs there. That's all being accounted for where it happens. And notice that it's about 38% of the activity that's happening in these top 5 states, with again Florida being number 1. Alternatively, we can you're able to go into Florida-specific data and see here the share of the total outdoor recreation value added and what going to each of these specific activities. So trips and travel is number 1 in Florida at 45%. Remember, it was about 50% at the national level. So why is that so high? It's because there's multiple constituent parts of that trips and travel activity. flights, shopping, lodging, that's all included in trips and travel. And you see amusement parks and water parks coming in second, and then boating and fishing fourth in Florida. So a couple more slides here. I'll show you RVing. This is an interesting one because Indiana comes in #1 due to the massive amount of RV manufacturing that happens in Indiana. And so California, Texas, Florida, and Ohio round out the top 5. So you see a little bit more of the total, a little bit more of the RVing total comes from the top 5 than it did for boating. And then even more concentrated activity is skiing and snowboarding. Here we see Colorado coming in first with 30% of the nation's value added, and the top 5 states, Colorado together with California, Utah, Pennsylvania, and Washington, account for over 60% of the U.S. total. So that's where I'll leave it. Ray is going to go into a little bit more detail on what, how you can use these numbers for your purposes, but they're all available at our website. Search, it's probably easiest just to Google DEA outdoor recreation. You'll be able to find state-by-state data. But if you have any questions about any of our numbers, how to find them, how we put them together, any suggestions, please reach out to us. Again, we're looking for feedback on these prototype statistics. That's the best phone number to call, and then that is the best email address to use. So with that, thank you very much for inviting us to give us this presentation, and I'll hand it back over.
Hey, thank you, Bert. I just want to jump in, this is Sue, say thank you. And that was a really nice, concise presentation. Since we will have your slides up now, just wanted to see if anybody had any quick clarifying questions or anything they wanted to ask specifically about the slides. Maybe we can take 5 minutes or so before we hop over to hear from Ray. So folks have anything they want to ask of Dirk at this point?
This is Rachel in Montana, really quick. Would we all met in Utah, you were mentioning that there's quick spots where we can jump to find out state comparison for other industries, just to like put it into bigger picture perspective. So if you've got the outdoor rec number, where does it line up with other industries within the states instead of the nationally? Where do we go to kind of find a good summary of that?
So, hi Rachel, thanks for the question. I think that it might be best to send an email, and we'll point you in the right place for that. I think though that Ray has a tool that shows that pretty well on his website, and I think he's going to get into that. But you might just look for state GDP on our website, and that should point you in the right direction.
Okay.
Okay, great. So we'll let Ray get into that as well. Good question. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Brad in Michigan, and I was remiss in mentioning Lauren Brannaman is also joining us from Michigan. She's an analyst with our Economic Development Agency, so if I ask a dumb question, maybe she can correct it. But I'm curious, Dirk, one thing we've been looking at in Michigan a little bit is sort of where manufacturing might land if it was, say, a plastics forming company that makes a percentage of their products for the outdoor recreation space, but not all of them. Does this data capture that nuance with manufacturing as well as it seems like it should or could?
Yeah, so in this really brief presentation, we just showed the outdoor recreation account sort of by activity. That's what people typically are more familiar with, bicycling versus RVing. However, if you know exactly what you're looking for from Michigan, you can go in and say, all right, you can go into the Michigan specific data and look at manufacturing in Michigan, and we'll have the outdoor recreation breakdown there. Not by activity, if you're just looking at manufacturing, but it'll be all the activities together manufacturing in Michigan, and you'll be able to see how much that's contributing to state value added and to state employment and compensation.
So just, and we can do this offline if need be, but I'm trying to figure out, like, if the codes you're using, the NAICS codes and stuff, do they break down underneath something like a plastics manufacturing into, yeah, that's actually making outdoor recreation products out of that plastic? Do they get to that level with your codes?
So at the state level, we can only go down to the detail of durable and non-durable manufacturing. So it wouldn't be plastic specifically, but we can break it down into durables and non-durables. And unfortunately, we can't go any more detailed than that, just due to data limitations and privacy implications and that kind of thing. But yeah, do reach out and give us a call or email, and we can try to answer your questions in more detail.
Sounds great. Thanks.
This is Rick.
Oh, go ahead, Ricky.
Oh, on your construction costs, does that include secondary real estate? I know when they do the sport fishing economics in Alaska, a significant portion is second homes. Where is that captured in the numbers? Is that under construction?
The secondary real estate?
Correct. Homes that are built for a secondary purpose, whether it's for like skiing or you know, a type of recreation activity in an area.
Yeah, that'll be in construction. So again, it's probably best to look specifically at the state by industry total, okay, and then you'll see construction broken out there.
Okay, thanks.
Kaylin?
Yeah, thanks, Dirk. I was wondering if you could provide just a short overview, and then I'm happy to follow up more with what goes into the state expenditure or more generally the government expenditure categories. But yeah, I'm most curious about the state level. What would be included there?
So there we have a lot of data from the Census of Governments on spending on things like parks and recreation. That's most of what is there, if I remember correctly. Again, you know, there's a lot of that is construction by state and local governments, and then we have data on federal government expenditures, and you know, those are all happening in specific states, so we can, you know, figure out where that's happening and include it in those totals. So you know, in a state with a national park, you're going to see more of or several national parks, you're going to see more of that federal spending in those states. But again, in every single state has a good deal of outdoor recreation expenditures in the you know, state and local government portion. But again, feel free to reach out with more questions.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's go ahead. There may be more questions, but we can take some of those at the end as well. I want to give Ray a chance to share the tools and information that his group has been working on. He's going to walk us through some information up on his website. And I should note, this is the website that's in the webinar invite, as well as the BEA website as well. So if you're trying to figure out where we are, this is where we are. So Ray, please take it away.
Hi, hello everybody. So what we did is we looked at BEA's website, and they've got some really neat online data visualizations, like Dirk showed you, these maps. And as somebody from Montana, I'm proud that you know, as a percent of GDP, we got beat only by Hawaii, just barely, but we're at 5.1%. So I would say we lead the nation in production of goods and services related to outdoor recreation, just behind Hawaii. But what was really interesting about their website is they also had a whole lot of data that you could download. There's an awful lot of Excel files you could download. And so what we did is we tried to figure out, can we can we tease some stories out of the additional data that's available on their website? And we came up with 5 stories. And the way I'm going to show this to you is on a post on our website. These 5 stories are presented as 5 interactive data visualizations. So what's the first story? So the first story is outdoor recreation is big. And, you know, sometimes it helps to compare it to something else. And a sector of the economy that a lot of people understand because you see it, it's very visual, is the construction sector. So what you can do here is you can pick your state. So I'm going to pick Montana. And I can see for the state of Montana, whoops, sorry. I'm working remotely on Sue's computer, so forgive me if there's a bit of a lag there. So you can see there that outdoor recreation in the state of Montana, in terms of its contribution to state GDP, is only 13% less than the construction industry. So it's almost as big as construction. The state of Utah, for example, it's about half the size of the construction industry. So it helps you visualize how big this sector is. To Rachel's question earlier, are there other resources where you can compare outdoor recreation to other sectors of the economy? We do have, if you look at our website up top, under tools, there's something called the economic profile system, and you can run a detailed socioeconomic profile for your state or your county, whatever geography you want. And a lot of that information will be in there. So what's the second story? So outdoor recreation is growing faster than the overall economy. So for example, I can look at California, and you can see in terms of its contribution to GDP, California, you know, its GDP grew by 21%, but the outdoor recreation's contribution to GDP grew by 24%. So pick another state, let's say pick Colorado, for example. And there you see in Colorado, overall GDP grew by 19%. The outdoor recreation's contribution to GDP grew by 30%. So this is a little tool that helps you understand how the outdoor recreation economy in your state compares to the state as a whole. So that's the second lesson. The third lesson is, wow, I'm sorry, but this, something's not right with your computer for some reason. It's not. Sue, are you there?
Do you want us to hop in and do something for you?
Yeah, I don't know if what you're seeing is the same as what I'm seeing. Oh, there you go. It takes a while to refresh. Might
be a little bit delay. Yeah, sorry for that.
Right. So you should be looking at a map of the country. And here's outdoor recreation consists of lots of different jobs. So what this little tool allows you to do is it allows you to look at the different components of the economy, different sectors of the economy, and how outdoor recreation goods and services are embedded within those different sectors. So let's take, for example, manufacturing. Overall is 255,000 manufacturing-related jobs in outdoor recreation. But then you can scroll across different states, and like Dirk said earlier, there's Indiana, right? And it's the RV manufacturing that's occurring there. I could also go, for example, to government's contribution to outdoor recreation, and it'll show it to you state by state as you point to the map. So it's lots of different sectors. It's not just retail. It's manufacturing. It's professional and service industries. It's a variety of different occupations, which is an important point to be able to make to people who will, you know, sort of discount outdoor recreation as being low paying. This is a tool that allows you to go, no, this includes engineering, it includes software developers, it includes people in the construction industry, it includes government, it includes manufacturing, construction. So then the next story is, sorry, just jumping around a bit, and that there's different activities, different activities contribute to outdoor recreation. And what we did is we went back to the original definition of what in Dirk's presentation was conventional outdoor recreation. And when the ORSA account was first put together, we had decided on a definition that what we meant by conventional was primarily nature-based. So activities that take place in sort of nature-based environments, as opposed to other, which a lot of those activities take place in sort of a man-made environment. So soccer and golf and tennis and that sort of thing. And this then allows you to look at it by state. So you can go, for example, to Montana, and you can see nature-based, oops. So nature-based, you can see the size of all the blocks. It's clearly bigger than outdoor recreation, than other outdoor recreation. But then you can look at the different components of nature-based recreation and how much they add value to GDP in the state of Montana. So that's another one, is that it's lots of different activities, nature-based versus other. You can then go, well, one of the stories is that nature-based recreation is bigger and growing faster. So you can see there's nature-based recreation for the US, growing at a faster rate than others. You can look at it by different states. And I think there's one state where other is growing faster than nature-based, and I believe that's Hawaii. But so that's the story there is you know, nature-based for most states is growing faster than other. And so that's it. Those are the 5 stories. So you go through these again. Outdoor recreation economy is big. It's growing faster than the overall economy. It's made up of lots of different industries and lots of different sectors. There's different activities that contribute to outdoor recreation GDP. And then nature-based, generally, with the exception of a few states, is growing, it's bigger and growing faster. And then down here, we have all of our definitions and methods and links to BEA's methodology as well. So that's what I have to present.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ray. Really helpful, and appreciate the walkthrough. I know I have a couple of questions, but I'd love to turn it over to folks on the line to see if you want to have Ray go through anything in more detail or just questions in general. Anyone have a question for Ray? Or maybe, Ray, if you want to speak to this question that Rachel raised earlier in terms of the comparison with other industry. I don't know if that was up at the top one I think you had.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to know something about your economy, there's here something called Tools, the economic profile system. And it takes you to a little landing page, and you click on Create Profiles, and then it'll produce 14 different thematic reports. So you can scroll down and see a whole variety of different reports that you can produce. But take, for example, let's say I want to run a report for the state of Montana. I click on Build Report, and then here I type, you know, Montana, add that geography, and go ahead and press download report. And what it's doing is it's going to our server and it's grabbing all the data from BA, Bureau of Labor Statistics, Census, 11 different federal sources, and then it's going to make a custom socioeconomic profile for you on the fly. So I just downloaded a report onto your desktop there.
Okay. Yeah, I see that now.
Yeah, I can't see it. So anyway, you have to you have to trust me what this, and I've lost control over your screen as well. But what you get is bar charts, line charts, tables, calculations, all in a print-ready, full-color report. And one of the things you can do is look at employment by industry, for example.
Great. All right. Other questions for Ray? Well, one thing that I was wondering about is, well, actually two questions. One's more technical, and the other one's just kind of more thinking about using this in different outreach materials. You know, where you have this construction versus, if you will, outdoor recreation, is that pulling out the construction portion of outdoor recreation? Or
No, we're talking about the construction industry, and you know, how big is it compared to
separate classifications?
Because you could look, for example, and compare it to chemical manufacturing. Well, none of us know what that means, right? Or you can compare it to you know, utilities, and you don't have nearly the same grasp of the size of that industry as you do construction. Construction, you drive around in your car and you can see it all around you.
So
buildings coming up.
Dirk had spoken to some of what might be included in the numbers for outdoor recreation, including construction within that government services piece of things or something. So
here's what I think would be really helpful for BEA to produce is, and I don't know, Dirk, if this is a good suggestion for you or not, but you guys you're starting to add data visualizations to your website. What if you have the option of looking at the GDP contribution from outdoor recreation, and you got to compare it to the contribution to GDP from other sectors? So, you know, like a pull-down menu, you pick the state, and it shows the GDP contribution from the latest year from a whole variety of sectors.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ray. Thank you. I think you know, we have a really easy way to pull out data by sector, but it's sort of siloed on a different part of our website from outdoor recreation. So it's a really good point. We should more clearly link those two at the state level, and maybe that's something that we can do in time for the official release of these statistics next year. And that's great feedback. And I just wanted to clear up one thing on this construction comparison. Ray, you got it right. This is the entire construction industry in the state versus the entire outdoor recreation industry in the state. So there will be some overlap in these statistics, but that's perfectly okay, right? Because that's the part of construction that's in the outdoor recreation sector. But yeah, so that's great feedback, Ray, and I'll pass it on. I'm not the data visualization person here, but we do have some talented people doing that. So thanks for that feedback.
So my second question was actually around data visualization, and more for you, Ray, I think. But you've got, like, these are great graphics that you got on your website here. Is there an easy way or a different portion of the website to be able to capture some of these, or like if someone wanted to put together, you know, a fun little report or fact sheet, you know, infographic with some of these you know,
You
case
can-
studies,
you can-
et cetera, but what do you recommend?
You can copy them straight off the website.
Oh, okay, great. You'll be able to click on it. Great, I haven't tried that, so I didn't know. Yeah,
Yeah, just click on it.
excellent. Other questions for Ray or maybe even Dirk, you know, kind of in, as well? Thoughts, requests for extra information, tools, et cetera? Examples of how you've used this data you want to share with others?
This is Kalen again. I'll go.
Sure.
I use this data all the time, and it's tremendously helpful in sort of building a narrative, and simple is better. One of the things, Ray, I know you and I have talked about in the past, but it's sort of a question for either of you, is kind of what data supports sort of pushing back against the narrative that these jobs are not well paying. And I guess my more specific question would be, because we know the outdoor recreation economy is composed of so many sort of subsectors or different industries, do we have data showing average salary or trend lines in salary related to manufacturing, retail, design, other elements of the outdoor recreation economy, or do we just have data that show salaries for the economy in, say, Oregon as a whole, and what's been happening to, you know, wage and salary earnings through time? Because I think breaking that down, at least for me, would be really helpful to differentiate a little bit from tourism, and hopefully you get where I'm going.
Yeah, you bet. So earnings by job is available. It's embedded inside the economic profile system. So if you run a report like I was demonstrating, you would get wages. And there are places where you can go to get salaries, you know, average wages per year. You know, average earnings per job is something that you can also look at. That's reported by BEA. So that's probably the quickest way to get it.
Great.
Yeah.
Anything to add, Dirk, on that?
No, Ray covered it pretty well.
Okay.
As I said, we have compensation at the state and industry level. So again, you could look at compensation of manufacturing in Michigan in the outdoor recreation sector, and then employment in manufacturing sector in the outdoor recreation sector. And you'd have to do a little work to, you know, just divide those two in Excel, but it's all available for to be done.
Yeah.
And sorry, just to clarify, Dirk, are those mostly in the state Excel sheets that are available on the ORSA webpage?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, when you get down to the state and industry level, there's just so many combinations that you sort of just have to. There's no. I mean, maybe Ray could visualize it in a better way than what we've thought of, but for us, it's all in those Excel files, and it clicks down to the state level.
Great. Okay. Thank you.
Other folks have any questions or comments, war stories? I was going to ask Dirk, actually, just to share a little bit more. I think you mentioned this, but maybe just to reiterate, plans for the future of the data set, the satellite account, any modifications or additions or, you know, repetition, just to kind of give us a sense of what might be coming in future years?
Sure. Yeah, so as I mentioned, we'll be making these statistics official probably in the fall of 2020. And, you know, in the meantime, looking for feedback. We have gotten a good deal of feedback. We've been doing outreach now for a little while. That's been great, but we're always looking for more. And going forward in the longer term, the resources to continue this outdoor recreation satellite account are are more secure. So previously, this was all, you know, sort of short-term deals with the Department of the Interior, or, you know, just shorter-term funding sources, and there was more uncertainty. But now this is part of our budget. So unless something changes with DEA's budget as a whole, outdoor recreation statistics will continue to be published. We might do more detail, might make changes here or there, but likely it's going to look very similar for years to come.
Okay, well, I'm going to, yeah, go ahead. Anyone else have a question or a comment?
This is Ray. I just want to offer something on this post on our website. One of the things that's available there too is a testimony that I presented to a House committee. I want to offer that to you as an example of how you can use this data to make an argument for outdoor recreation, in particular for an argument for investment in outdoor recreation. So it's got a lot of sort of ideas on how to share this information with people in a way that makes it a little easier to understand, so it puts it in the context of the rest of the economy. And then give an example. I use Land and Water Conservation Fund, for example. Use an example of how there was a pretty high return on investment, a fairly minor investment from Land and Water Conservation Fund resulted in the creation of a lot of jobs in the state. So anyway, it's there for you if you want it.
Oh, that's great, and I think it's showing up on the screen now, and we sent around some links earlier to some of the testimony, although I think it was more of a live stream that Jess had provided, Jess Wall from ORR. So this is great to have this written piece here. Well, I just want to close and say thank you, both of you, for extra time and effort. I know some of us got a chance to hear some of this information previously, including out in Utah, but it's good to get the sort of personal touch here. And I know you all provided your contact information and have agreed to be available for follow-up. So we appreciate that. And you know, as we go along and folks in the network, you know, continue to use the data, hopefully we'll have more examples of how people are using this and be able to share that with each other. So we'll definitely look forward to doing that. I do want to just put a plug in for folks in the Learning Network. We do have our monthly call this Friday, Friday the 13th. It is at 5 p.m. Eastern, so apologies to those folks on the East Coast who may have to be on the line late or may not be able to make it because it's so late. We'll definitely get the notes out from that. We'll be starting that call top of the order with some updates from OIA as well as ORR and REI related to workforce issues, and some of this data may come up as well as part of that. So please tune in for that, and that's also a chance for everybody to share what the latest is in their state and kind of swap stories and reach out to the group for input. So with that, I'll close this out. We will, as I mentioned, be recording this, so we'll have this available. If you want to go back and listen to it or share it with colleagues, we'll get it out to folks who weren't able to make the call. But thank you again to Dirk and Ray and to everyone. Great questions, great ideas there, and have a great rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue.
Thanks.
Thanks, all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.